Look upon these stones, weathered remnants of an empire time has tried to erase. The wind that whispers through these ruins carries tales of a time when this land, the vast, fertile Kantō, was not yet unified, but a battleground. A crucible where legends were forged and dynasties were shattered. Imagine a name, Hōjō, once spoken with awe, commanding armies, raising fortresses, shaping the fate of millions. Yet, for all their might, their ingenuity, their sheer will to dominate, their story often gets lost in the thunderous echoes of history's more famous conquerors. But tonight, we pull back the veil. Tonight, we uncover the saga of the Later Hōjō, a clan that rose from nothing, seized an empire, and for a breathtaking century, stood as the undisputed masters of Eastern Japan. A flame that burned so bright it illuminated the chaos, before ultimately being consumed by it. To understand the Hōjō, we must first understand the ground from which they sprang. This was the Sengoku Jidai, Japan's age of warring states. A time of ceaseless conflict, where loyalty was a coin spent recklessly, and just as easily betrayed, and ambition was the driving force of every beating heart. The old order, the Ashikaga shogunate, had crumbled, leaving a gaping void. And into that void rushed countless ambitious lords, great and small, each vying for supremacy, each dreaming of unifying the fractured land under their own banner. It was an era of profound danger, yes, but also of incredible opportunity. A time when a clever mind, a bold heart, and a keen blade could carve an empire out of thin air. It was a time when a man, not of noble birth or ancient lineage, could rise from the dust to challenge the very heavens. And such a man was Hōjō Sōun. His real name was Ise Shinkuro, a low-ranking samurai, a rōnin even, with no grand patrimony, no vast armies at his command, just a mind as sharp as a newly honed katana and a spirit as unyielding as the mountains. He served the Imagawa clan for a time, learning the intricate dance of court politics and the brutal realities of war. But Shinkuro harbored a secret fire, a hunger for something more than mere service. His chance came, as opportunities often do, amidst betrayal and weakness. The province of Izu, ripe for the taking, was plagued by internal strife, its ruling Ashikaga family fractured by a succession dispute. Shinkuro, ever the opportunist, saw his opening. He was no brute-forcing warlord. He was a serpent, coiled, patient, studying every weakness before striking. With a small, loyal band of followers and an even smaller budget, he began to sow discord, to exploit weaknesses, to turn brother against brother within the Ashikaga. He moved like a ghost in the night, his actions precise, his motives obscured. Then, in a move of audacious brilliance that would forever define him, he struck. In 1493, under the cloak of darkness, Ise Shinkuro led his forces in a surprise attack on Horigoe-gosho, the very residence of the Ashikaga ruler of Izu. It wasn't a grand siege, it was a scalpel in the night, swift, silent, and merciless. He eliminated his target, seized control, and declared Izu his own. This was no mere bandit raid. This was the birth of a new power. Ise Shinkuro, now known as Hōjō Sōun, had carved a domain out of chaos, not by inherited right, but by sheer, unadulterated will. He was the first truly self-made daimyo of the Sengoku period, a trailblazer whose audacious tactics would inspire generations. He ruled with a pragmatic hand, focusing on the welfare of his peasants, building infrastructure, and securing his borders. He wasn't just a conqueror, he was a founder, laying the bedrock for a dynasty. He established his stronghold in Odawara, a strategic coastal castle that would become the beating heart of his burgeoning domain. From there, he looked north, towards the vast, fertile plains of the Kantō. His ambition was boundless, his vision clear. He had planted a seed, and it was ready to sprout. Sōun's son, Hōjō Ujitsuna, inherited not just a castle, but a fierce legacy and an unquenchable ambition. Ujitsuna was cast in his father's mold, but with an even grander vision. Where Sōun had been the serpent, Ujitsuna was the eagle, soaring over the Kantō, identifying opportunities, and striking with decisive force. He understood that true power wasn't just about seizing land. It was about solidifying it, integrating it, and building a network of loyalties. He adopted the name Hōjō, connecting his burgeoning clan to the prestigious, ancient Hōjō regents of the Kamakura shogunate, lending an air of legitimacy to his newly acquired power. Ujitsuna methodically expanded his father's domain, often through shrewd diplomacy, sometimes through brute force. He took control of Musashi Province, a crucial step in dominating the Kantō, and captured the strategically vital Edo Castle in 1524, which would one day become Tokyo. He wasn't just winning battles, he was winning the hearts and minds of the people, offering stability in a world of chaos. His laws were fair, his administration efficient, and his economy robust. By the time Ujitsuna passed, the once unthinkable had happened. The Hōjō were no longer upstarts. They were a formidable power, a dominant force in the Kantō, a testament to the cunning of the father and the strategic brilliance of the son. The seed had taken root, and its branches were beginning to spread. Ujitsuna's son, Hōjō Ujiyasu, was the inheritor of this burgeoning empire, and under his reign, the Hōjō reached their zenith. He was known as the Lion of Sagami, a title earned not through mere succession, but through savage trial by fire. He was the great leader the clan needed for its golden age. Ujiyasu took the scattered provinces and forged them into a unified, wealthy, and militarily formidable state. He was a master of logistics, overseeing vast improvements to the infrastructure and economy. He formalized the laws established by his grandfather, ensuring stability for merchants and peasants alike. The Hōjō domains were an oasis of relative peace and prosperity in the raging storm of the Sengoku era. Odawara Castle, already formidable, was expanded into one of the largest and most impregnable fortresses in all of Japan, a symbol of their dominance. But Ujiyasu's tenure was defined by relentless warfare, for the Hōjō's success inevitably attracted powerful, jealous rivals. First, there was Takeda Shingen, the Tiger of Kai, a tactical genius whose mounted charges were the terror of central Japan. Second, there was Uesugi Kenshin, the Dragon of Echigo, a warrior so devout and skilled he was often hailed as a god of war. In 1559, these two titanic rivals, Shingen and Kenshin, launched a coordinated, massive invasion of the Kantō, converging on Odawara itself. The walls of Ujiyasu's magnificent fortress were tested like never before. Kenshin led tens of thousands of troops right to the castle gates. Yet, Ujiyasu was not simply a defender, he was a cagey strategist. Earlier in his career, he had already delivered one of the Sengoku era's greatest upsets, the Battle of Kawago in 1546. Severely outnumbered by a coalition army, Ujiyasu led a surprise night raid, turning certain defeat into a stunning, chaotic rout. The audacity of the Hōjō was unmatched. Now, facing the combined might of the dragon and the tiger, Ujiyasu refused to break. The siege of Odawara turned into a stalemate. Shingen and Kenshin, ever wary of one another, could not maintain their cooperation. Ujiyasu's impregnable castle, combined with his loyal, well-supplied troops and his calculated patience, forced the invaders to eventually retreat, leaving the Hōjō standard flying high above the Kantō. Ujiyasu spent the rest of his reign in a constant, intricate dance of alliances and battles against Shingon and Kenshin, holding his own through sheer tenacity. He forged temporary treaties, he broke them, he maneuvered, and he survived. He ensured the dynasty's survival, expanding their influence until the Hōjō clan controlled 8 provinces, the largest domain in eastern Japan. They ruled over 1 million koku, a vast centralized power unmatched in the east. The name Hōjō meant stability, wealth, and undeniable military might. When Ujiyasu died in 1571, he passed on a unified golden empire to his son, Ujimasa. The Hōjō were masters of their world. The saga of the Hōjō should have ended here, with the passing of Ujiyasu, the ultimate conqueror, and the beginning of a peaceful, centuries-long rule. But history is rarely so kind. Ujiyasu's successors, his son Ujimasa and his grandson Ujinao, inherited the mantle of power, but they also inherited the changing landscape of Japan. While the Hōjō had been locked in their dramatic struggle with the dragon and the tiger in the Kantō, on the horizon, a new force was rising. A man from Owari whose ambition reached far beyond the eastern plains. A unifier who would reshape the fate of every clan in Japan. The name that would echo into the Hōjō's destiny, Toyotomi Hideyoshi. Hideyoshi, the monkey, possessed a vision that spanned the entire island chain, a vision that tolerated no rivals. He was systematically dismantling every daimyo who stood in his way, absorbing their lands and demanding their allegiance. He was not Takeda Shingon, who sought mere territory. Hideyoshi sought submission. The successors of Ujiyasu were powerful, but perhaps too set in their ways, too accustomed to the rules of the Kantō power struggle. They saw the rise of the Western warlords as something distant, a game played in provinces far away. They relied on their legendary castle and their vast resources. They were masters of the old ways, but the new age required absolute obedience. As the years of the 1580s drew to a close, the air grew heavy. Messengers from the west arrived at Odawara, bearing demands, not invitations, but commands, to pledge loyalty to the increasingly powerful Toyotomi regime. The Hōjō, proud masters of the East for nearly a century, hesitated. How could they, the descendants of Sōun and Ujiyasu, bow to a man of peasant stock? They were at the peak of their power, controlling more land than ever, their armies disciplined, their castle walls thicker than any in the realm. The Hōjō believed they were unassailable. But Hideyoshi was not a man to be refused. He would bring his entire assembled might, the armies of a unified Japan, to bear upon the Kantō. The final act of this grand saga was being prepared. The Hōjō banner, the diamond crest, flew proudly over Odawara. Below it, the samurai were tightening their armor, sharpening their blades, convinced that no force on earth could breach the walls that had defied the dragon and the tiger. They looked east, comfortable in their empire. But the true threat was marching west, a colossal shadow, an unstoppable force ready to crush the final resistance to a unified Japan. The curtain was about to rise on the siege of Odawara, a confrontation that would test the very limits of human endurance and resolve and determine whether the flame lit by Hōjō Sōun would illuminate the new era or be extinguished forever. This was the rise of the late Hōjō clan, a tale carved from ambition, sharpened by war, and forged into legends. If you want to witness the next chapter of this epic saga, be sure to hit that subscribe button and like this video. It's how we keep bringing the legends of feudal Japan back to life. This is Shadow Forged Steel. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.